Councillor Neil Watts to his first meeting of the Cabinet. Welcome, Neil. And thank Councillor John McFadden for his contribution for previous Cabinets. And Eddie says, although it's a welcome, you're not allowed a welcome speech. You can do that later on, later on for that. Okay, folks. I'll now ask Lynn to call for the sediment and any apologies.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. If you hear your name, can you confirm your attendance, please? Councillor Reid?
Here.
Councillor McMahon?
Lynn, thanks.
Councillor Cowan?
Here.
Councillor Linton?
Here.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
We have an apology this morning from Councillor Douglas. Councillor Ingram?
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
Councillor Maitland? Here. Councillor Mabin?
Here, thanks, Lynn.
Councillor Watts?
Here, thanks, Lynn.
And we also have an apology this morning from Councillor Filson. Dr David Lewis?
Yeah.
Reverend Harriet Johnston? Babs Mowat? Yep, I can see you, Babs. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hazel Malacotti
Yes, thanks, Lynn.
and John Semple.
Here, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Lynn. Now go to item 1 in terms of declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to be declared? No, I don't think there's anything obvious. Okay, so now wait for the new version of East Ayrshire Performs. We hope things go smoothly with IT. No pressure, Joe. And over to Joe McLaughlin with the report.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. The first East Ayrshire Performance Report was presented to Cabinet in August 2011. It was a report that marked a step change in financial reporting, and specifically it made a commitment to paragraph 2 of that report to report financial transactions on an exceptions basis. That report contained sections on revenue, capital, people, business briefings and corporate risks. And because of that, by exceptions rule, the report itself is 14 pages long. Over the years, the report has grown 7-fold and the number of sections within it has more than doubled. And given the challenges that the Council face and given the comments that you have made and external partners have made, then it's right that the report itself is reviewed. It was reviewed during the summer. We've taken the opportunity to embrace digital functionality that we have available to us. And at the same time, we've gone back and trying to go back to a report that highlights the key messages, those exceptions that you need to be aware. That's highly relevant, given that we've got the Accounts Commission in Audit Scotland talking about the financial sustainability of the wider public sector. And so as we go through that process, it's important that we embrace that in this new report. The report itself begins by several asks of Cabinet today. A transfer of £75,000 from the finance and digital balances to meet the costs of accommodating the Leisure Trust in Civic Centre North and using that building again. A £257,000 draw from repairs and renewals to support Ash Dieback, and that will be accompanied by a later report by the head of Ayrshire Roads Alliance that will set out a 3-year plan for that issue. It asks for approval to transfer £122,000 from specific central balances that was used specifically to support larders to be used in the Poverty and Inequality Fund. And at the same time asking members today to note the capital costs in respect of Commerce Primary and St Sophia's will be over by £250,000 and £450,000 respectively. And at the same time noting a reprofiling of this year's capital programme by £25 million from the 25-26 expenditure moving into the 26-27 financial year. That takes us to the new report. The new report itself has been, as I said, created using the digital functionality we have. It's a report that is based on the 4 key strategies that underpin the Council strategic plan that you approved in July or June 2022, the medium-term financial strategy, the people strategy, workforce strategy, the digital strategy and the capital strategy. And the report today has 4 elements, and it shows how the financial, human capital and digital resources are deployed and utilised across the council to deliver against our strategic plan and against the priorities you set and the outcomes you expect to receive. So the report itself is interactive. It allows drill down and by its very nature allows elected members to have more scrutiny and more challenge for scrutiny as we go through not just the finances but through the other sections within it. This is the Q1 report. It takes the financial information to July this year. Moving on to the revenue section, then we see a dashboard, an interactive dashboard at the top. This is a dashboard for all council operational services. So here you see a variance, an adverse variance of £8.513 million for council services. Paragraph 10 notes a different figure, 8.413, and that's because there's a favourable variance of £100,000 in corporately held budgets around council tax and housing benefit. So services 8.513 of a projected overspend at this point in time. The dashboard itself has on the left-hand side the different grouping of services, and at the top has a series of quarter boxes 1, 2, 3 and 4. And members, they will become your library of East Ayrshire performance reports as we go through the year, and you can go into each one and see that the key messages and the variances that exist throughout each period. In the middle of the dashboard, we have a light blue line, which is the budget that you approved as a council in February. It has moved since then, as budgets always move, but that's the budget that has been approved. The darker line below it is the financial projection for the year, and you can see that we're planning, services are planning to spend more than you gave them, than you approved for them to spend. And that's a variance of £8.513 million. And I'll explain more on that in a few moments. At the top right, we have a speedometer that is the spend to date, or the spendometer, and that shows that as an organisation, East Ayrshire Council has pumped £140 million into the local economy through salaries, through wages and through contracts since April this year. That is then split, and it shows below that in the pie graph how that has been incurred. Majority of that is staff costs. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you see the variance, you see the explosion of that 8.513. You can see that third-party payments and transport are 2 that we would expect to see. Centrally held savings is unique to the Health and Social Care Partnership, and I'll speak more on that in a few moments. And then you can see other matters on that graph. Where the bar is to the right-hand side, that is an overspend, that is a bad projection. Where it's to the left-hand side of the bar, then that is an underspend, that's a favourable projection. So that's the top level of the services. And as it's interactive, you can click on the 8.513 and you can see how that spreads across our services. You can see that education is expected to end the year £1.948 million, and I'll touch on why in a moment. Health and social care, 7.9. You're seeing underspends in communities and economy, and that's really interesting because this time last year, they were in excess of £1 million overspent, and we'll talk about how that's happened and how we've used money from UK government to support waste and support the waste service within that. And within Chief Executive's office, that's the service is about £1 million underspent, and as I said, I'll speak more about that in a few moments. So within education, we can see that £51 million has been spent to date. The majority of that spend has been on staffing costs and transport costs and the like, but an adverse variance of 1.948. Members will remember this time last year we had 4 fires in education. ASL transport was one, probationers, HQ cover, and early years were really issues that were causing us some concern. When we drill down and explode that budget out, we can see that, again, left is good, right is bad. We can see that in terms of ASL, a 2.416 overspend. So interestingly, in ASL transport, the projection is for £2.5 million to be overspent, but the service itself is only overspending by 1.9 because they're using all other favourable variances to bring things back online wherever they can. Interestingly, about halfway down that page, you'll see early years. Last year, overspending. This year, £479,000 underspending. So that report that you approved some time ago is now seeing the fruits of that. We're seeing the shift in the service, and we're seeing a service that's stable, but is now underspending. And the Director of Education and Skills has been given a commitment to go back and again and review the management structure within that. So that's education. We can see in the bottom right-hand side that transport is the main pressure within that service. You know, members, that the review group has met to review the contracts that are in place and the applications that have been made. That's a process that remains ongoing. And so although I say that the bottom line, higher level rather, figure of overspend for education is a projection of £1.9 million, we hope as we go through the year that that will reduce as we can put in place the outcomes of that ASL transport review. So education, better than last year. Remember, this time last year, education was £8 million projected overspend. And in terms of the detail, again, important to emphasise that what you have in these sections is more data. Nothing's been taken out of the previous report, and it explains the challenges within that service. We need to keep an eye on HQ cover because that's 244,000 overspent. As part of the budget this year, we placed more money into that budget, and Linda and I are both meeting head teachers and secondary heads in particular to see how the plans that they have can help in bringing that budget back online. So in terms of education, still one or two areas to look at. We've still got some process to go through, particularly in terms of ASL transport, but on the whole, a much better position than this time last year. In Chief Executive Services, and you can see in the left-hand side, the services that's made up of. And the variance is a favourable underspend projected of £964,000, and you can see that that's across the board. You also know from the report that was presented by the Chief Executive and by the Head of People and Culture that service redesigns are live in those services, and they're taking place as we speak. And so it's not unusual to see staffing underspends taking place while heads of service begin to reshape and redesign their service for the future. And in terms of the services themselves, in my service, you know, underspending by £312,000, but I have some fires in terms of DWP income and also in terms of supplies and services that I'm dealing with as well. And the same takes place both in governance, which is planning income, which is not as stable as normal budgets are, and also in people and culture, you're seeing underspends there. In communities and economy, you're seeing an underspend of £381,000, and that's an incredible achievement, achieved by hard work and slog, as you know, and you've seen that throughout the last year, particularly as we got towards the year end. But also we've utilised money that we received from UK government and from DEFRA. This was money that was provided to all councils in the UK for extended producer responsibility. It's to do with packaging and a tax on packaging. And the more that tax is levied over time, that tax will diminish. We were told at the beginning of the year that East Ayrshire Council would receive around £6.1 million. That was an indicative amount. That figure was reduced by the latest amount of notification, which was £5.4 million. That is money we'll receive this year and for some years to come, but I emphasise it will diminish over time. We've used £2 million of that money to support the waste service in terms of its operational needs. And you know that as we go through that process, and some years ago, you heard that the waste had overspends taken place. You also know from the waste review that the year 1 and year 2 costs of that waste review required you to authorise a draw from the general fund uncommitted balance to support the review to break even. Year 3, which is next year, will begin to see the benefits of the waste review and underspends taking place. So that £5.4 million we've received from DEFRA has been allocated to waste and to the waste review. At the same time, I'm very conscious that we've made 2 draws from the general fund, and at the same time, we have a general fund balance sitting at 2%. So as part of that, I will likely be moving or transferring money back to the general fund from that money, but all of that money has been allocated to waste and to support the waste review, and that's important for us as we go forward. In terms of central management support, that's an underspend of £900,000. That's important. Note that's at this point in time, but that will be utilised as we go through the year by the Deputy Chief Exec. Again, the narrative is there explaining some of the pressures, particularly pressures within Ayrshire Roads Alliance, within primary and secondary school transport. We'll see some movement in that in this at the start of this term, but we also recognise that as part of the ASL transport review, we will have some young people who will fall out of the contracted taxi contract and instead may fall into become liable for transport through mainstream primary and secondary transport. Again, details are there for your review and scrutiny. And moving on to health and social care. You allocated a budget of £115 million. At this point in time, the Chief Officer is predicting that the spend, or the Director of Health and Social Care is indicating that spend will be around £123 million or £8 million more than you approved. The spend to date is £41 million, and it's in this service you begin to see in the bottom right a change in that spend process. Normally it's about staff costs and about premises costs, but it's third-party payments here. So this is the cost of externally provided care, that 70-30 split of home care is in there, commission services, care home contracts, and also other external third sector contracts too. In centrally held savings, you'll see in the narrative that comes in the next few pages that as part of the initial recovery plan this year, the Health and Social Care Partnership believed that they could undertake a series of rapid reviews that would reduce the overspend by around £2.3 million. At this point in time, those reviews have not identified that £2.3 million. So very oddly, in terms of a financial detail, you're seeing a title or a narrative there that's not normally seen, centrally held savings. So piece of work to be done within health and social care. I've asked one of my senior managers to support the group finance manager and the heads of service in the partnership by undertaking a detailed review of the spend and spending plans. And that was the same officer who supported Linda and Julie Hope last year in that, and it bared good results. So that has happened as well. Again, the narrative is shown, but we know that we've got a number of recovery plans taking place, and that's important. Where we begin to see in that initial spendometer or speedometer a proposal to spend more than you approved, then that brings recovery plans straight into play. So as we speak, recovery plans for education and recovery plans for the Health and Social Care Partnership are now active and required to be completed in line with the financial regulations. We can see across the piece in children and families, you've got an underspend of £500,000, but in community care, it's £5 million of an overspend. And despite the best endeavours of colleagues in achieving savings, the demand again begins to creep in and dwarf the savings that have been achieved. And again, challenges with placement. It's important to note here, members, that while we endeavour to apply the same financial rigour as we do to all budgets, this is in some part a national issue, and it will require not just our solution, but also a national solution to it too. Housing revenue accounts got a kind of odd graph in that you're seeing an underspend of £1.8 million, but no graph. It's because anything that's saved in the HRA stays in the HRA. There is no variance. It's a self-funding fund, and so it's there. So £1.8 million of an underspend. You can see on both the pie chart and the bar graph how that's made up, but quite a substantial underspend in employee costs, And again, you can click into both housing asset services and housing management services to get more detail of that. And again, you're seeing in terms of the house and revenue account, a £1.2 million underspend, but on the HAS side, £500,000 as well. And the reasons for that are as listed, partly due to the employer superannuation rate. The general fund, as you know, you used that as part of your £40 million. You have no right to use that for the HRA, that's for tenants. And so Blair holds that centrally as well and utilises that as he needs. And in terms of the Leisure Trust, we've got a break-even position at this point in time, which is helpful. But you can also see in the bottom right that although we're showing a break-even position, there are unders and overs throughout that budget. And again, you're free to drill down in any part of that as you wish. And again, the narrative is there, and the tables that you used to see in the previous report are still there too. Moving on to central services. So these are services that we can't allocate to a service because firstly, they would probably dwarf that service and would cause erratic over underspends to take place. But here, draw your attention, members, to in terms of that top line on the table, housing, council tax benefit. This is council tax reduction. And again, members, we receive an allocation of around £9.5 million from Scottish Government to pay council tax reduction to those families or those individuals who need support paying their council tax. We're in line with previous years, we're paying around £1 million more than we get funding for. And that's coming at the expense of other services, members. And in terms of other non-departmental, that's a mix of superannuation contributions predominantly. So we had said in our modelling that when the employer's superannuation rate fell in those 2 years to 6.5%, we envisaged that that would be a £12 million gain. As the fund has disbursed the money in year 2, and we're currently into year 2 of that, we received £12.7 million. So we're using that £700,000 to help us meet the cost of that council tax reduction. And we have a new page. It's more for our auditors. They'll like it more than you will do. But it's almost a P&L, a profit and loss of the council as at Q1 of the financial year. And that, members, concludes the revenue section. I'm happy to take any questions, and colleagues are here to support me in that. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I think you're quite right there. One of the highlights for me was the issues that we have with health and social care budget, and but as I heard at Cause of Leaders on Friday, is absolutely a national issue. We're looking at recovery plans and looking at having a deeper dive into it. When can members expect that deeper dive, or will that be a continual process, or is there a particular paper coming to Cabinet?
So there's a number of things there through you, Chair. So there's first of all, recovery plan needs to come back within 4 weeks. So you'll see that at some point. Now, the route that will take will be through the IJB, through the board, and then to council. So that recovery plan is in play. The second thing about a drill down, the rigour that was applied, or the support that was provided rigorously to colleagues in education last year is being applied to colleagues in the Health and Social Care Partnership. That has already begun. It begun a few weeks ago, and I met with Julie and the Group Finance Manager as recently as yesterday. They're doing a line-by-line review of every budget entry within the Health and Social Care Partnership and challenging officers around planned spend and spend that took place to see whether or not, against a backdrop of a £7.9 million overspend and against the rigour of around non-essential spend being curtailed, is that being applied as rigorously as the council would want it to be? And I think in terms of the national issue, when council met in February, it took the unusual step of asking the IJB chief officer to provide a direction to the council. And that direction would set out the budget that would be allocated to each element of the Health and Social Care Partnership. That is really important for us because at the moment we're operating with, but we've allocated budgets that we think we know, but we need the IJB to give us the precise detail of the budget that's allocated to each of the heads of service within the Health and Social Care Partnership. We don't have that yet. The Chief Exec is dealing with that, as am I. I've got to be honest, there are governance issues here that we need to deal with. So that's needed urgently. And we're working with colleagues in the Health and Social Care Partnership, or sorry, with the IGB to get that direction. In terms of the national issue, you as leader, Eddie through Solace and myself through Director of Finance are all saying the same story, that we cannot fix this. This is much bigger than a local authority. And it requires both additional funding, but to some extent a change in mindset where when money is allocated to health, that there has to be recognition that some of that has to flow through to social care. So that's all been taking place as well, Leader.
Good to, I mean, very much watch this space, but we'll keep Cabinet informed as much as we can. Linda.
Thanks, Leader. Hi, Joe. Thank you. You know, I like the layout. I even like the spendometer, but I'm thinking if I was a member of the public looking at this, there's two that jump out at me, bearing in mind we're in Q1, and it's the Chief Executive Services and the Communities and Economies. Now, it looks as if they're way overspent. So can you give me some clarity as to why these spends seem so high? Thanks.
Sorry, so through you. So this is always a danger when adding actuals, and I don't like actuals as a CFO because it gives you a today figure, but I'm interested in March. But you're absolutely right. So why is 10 million being spent so far? So when we have a general ledger, and that general ledger has projection keys within it. So for salary costs for elected members and for staff, they're just profiled 1/12 every month. That's easy. What you're seeing here is contracts, for example, in my case, IT contracts for the general ledger and the like, banking contracts being let at 1st of April for the year ahead. So you're seeing a sort of skewing of the money going out the door. You would expect it to go out in 12 equal chunks, but it doesn't, because some of it's front loaded to the beginning of the financial year. So that's why the spendometer is there. And it's helpful, but it also is to be read in conjunction with other things alongside it. But it's there, and I would say it's there to be helpful. But I would, don't place too much focus on it because it'll be different for most services in terms of how spend is skewed. Non-domestic rates is another one that tends to come in, I think, in September or October, if memory serves me right, and I'm flying by the seat of my pants with that one. But there's things that come in at certain points of the year that would cause a skewing effect to take place in terms of the actuals.
Ian.
Thanks, Dougie, and just say, Joe, I know there's been a lot of work done over the summer by you and your team. You've kept us all fully informed and given us an advance show of how the layout would be, and I have to say it is so much clearer and concise than the old method where the big numbers seem to be lost in, as you say, the huge amount of other information. So I welcome the new format. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Claire.
Thank you. Just going back to Health and Social Care Partnership and maybe some reassurance on the recovery plans that we met yesterday, and I think that was Linda's first one there as well. And just like the graphics we're seeing here now, we're beginning to introduce other graphics onto how we see where the money is going. And as you said, line by line, every head of service is going through this. I made a flashcard system came up yesterday as well. We are seeing savings being met, not perhaps the 2.3 million that was hoped for, but we're definitely seeing them being met. But it has to be said, and it has to go out there, it's been outstripped by demand. And again, as we say, it's a national, we need to look at a national recovery in this, because we can't not give the services that are demanded of us. And I think we saw that at council last week, the amount of referrals now that are going there. However, my question, Joe, is when will the council receive this direction from the IGB? Thank you.
So through you, Chair, it's something that the Chief Executive and I are actively pursuing. It's an unusual thing, and I suppose it's in the Act and it's in the integration scheme, but it's something that's maybe not been asked for before. So trying to compile it is a challenge. But it's something that we need as a council so that we can then wrap governance around it and can then bring things back to you as elected members of the council in terms of the actions you may wish to take to support the Health and Social Care Partnership going forward.
I'll bring in Eddie.
Thanks, and I know I've said this several times, but I think it's really important to keep going over this in terms of the flow of this. The Integration Joint Board is a separate public body. It can only commission up to the totality of money that it has. And so that direction that we get from it is telling us how much money it's going to spend through the council. It spends it through the Health and Social Care Partnership. The Health and Social Care Partnership is a joint department of the council and the health board. It's ours for that. So actually, it's not the IJB that overspends. It's the council that overspends. And it will be the council to decide, are we going to allow an overspend, agree to an overspend, members? Or are we going to say you need to put in recovery plans and bring that back online, and actually understanding the actions that we need to take then to bring that back in line? That's why it's so important that we get clarity from the IJB to the council of how much money that we've got. And then the council will need to make the decisions about, are we going to tell them stick to the money you've got, which will have a consequence, or no, we will agree to find money somewhere to cover that, as we did last year to the tune of, what was it, £6 million, Joe, to cover that. So that's why it's so important that we do, get that to us, and there's a clarity then about, sometimes it feels like all this is away over there and it's somebody else's responsibility in the IJB. It's not, it's ours when it comes to this part here. So that's the push that we're doing just now, and really clearly push, with the officers of the IJB.
Okay, I know that's some large sums of money in bigger services still for our most vulnerable members of our community. So we absolutely need to get this right. Need to put that effort in. And I think that's highlighted in the paper here. Graham, sorry.
Sorry, Dougie. I just can't let this go past. I'd like to congratulate Linda and her team. The turnaround in the early years is fantastic. So thank you very much for bringing that budget into order.
Sorry, I should have said, just referring to the digital part, and I've loved to see how you can just at a glance see what stage each of the main 11 projects are. I know there's loads more going on behind the scenes, but it's nice to see that either you're close to a completion or you're slowly working your way. So that's a really, really good addition to it. Thanks.
Claire.
Just to say that, this being available to the public as well is really, really hands-on. We're talking about digital transformation. We see it on social media. Where's this? Where's that? Guys, it's all sitting here. You can all go in and look. There's where the spend is. There's the problems we face. And here's how we're going to recover. So I think this is an incredible tool. Thank you.
Okay. Simon, you're next. Oh, geez, oh.
Thanks, Chair, and good morning, members. I'll start just by giving you an overview of the capital programme section of the new report, which, as Joe's outlined, it provides a significant amount of information in a format that allows members to view at a high level or drill down into the detail of it. Members will also be aware that the capital programme continues to face ongoing pressures on affordability due to construction inflation and the cost of borrowing, and projects are being closely monitored to ensure essential scope is aligned with affordability caps. So moving to the capital summary page, the dashboard essentially. So the bars on the left show the current year budget of £141 million with a projected spend of £116 million, and the variance of £25 million reflects the reprofiling of projected spend for a number of projects which are detailed within the covering report and as part of this main report. Speedometer at the top right, that shows the current year spend of £15 million, and the pie chart below that shows the share of the current year budget allocation between work streams. The bar chart below that again shows how the current year budget is funded. So moving to the next page. So The next page, capital progress, shows how major projects are ordered in relation to their current REBA stages. And if I move you to the next page again, that then shows the anticipated REBA stage for major projects over the next 5 years. And following that, we get into the main detail of the report. So that provides specific information on projects grouped in their work streams. And as usual, I won't go through that in great detail, but if I could just highlight some key points for a selection of projects. Move back to the dashboard. So starting with completed projects, St Sophia's Primary School refurbishment was completed and handed over in June, and pupils returned for the new term in August. This Scottish Government funded Pathfinder project is the first Benefit certified school in the United Kingdom and will provide invaluable knowledge to apply to future refurbishment projects. There was also a number of other projects undertaken over the school summer break, including roofing works at Dunlop, Logan and Drongan primary schools, internal and external works at the Supported Learning Centre at Onthank Primary School, upgrading works at Crosshouse Community Centre, external play areas at Willowbank, alterations at Bellsbank Primary School and accessible toilet works at Nether Robertland. So a significant amount of work was done over that school break. At the moment, there's approximately £36 million of construction contracts on site. That includes the Palace Theatre and Grand Hall as part of Cultural Kilmarnock, where a contract was awarded for the project, which received £20 million of levelling up funding, and works commenced on the 4th of August. Work will continue on a phased basis over the next 2 years with an initial focus on refurbishment of the exterior of the building. The Galston Library and Office project is well advanced with the building wind and watertight, and internal fit-out works are ongoing. And the Kilmarnock multi-storey car park demolition is now largely complete with final landscaping works being undertaken. Projects at detailed design stage include Kilmore's Primary School, where, as noted in the covering report, following tendering, a preferred bidder has now been identified to replace the existing dining hall and kitchen, and works are anticipated to start in October. At Stuart Academy, technical designs have now been completed, a tender's being prepared, and it's anticipated that will be issued late in October or early November. And with projects at the earlier stages of design, the Ayrshire Engineering Park and Ayrshire Manufacturing Investment Corridor as part of the Ayrshire Growth Deal, where following tendering, a preferred bidder has been identified for Phase 1 infrastructure works, and subject to joint committee approval, it's anticipated works could commence in the early autumn. With the Doon Valley Community Campus, proposals for refurbishment and extension of the existing school have been developed with stakeholder consultation ongoing, and it's expected that the first phase of works to upgrade the leisure centre could start later this year or early next. So thanks, Chair. That's just a brief summary of some projects, but happy to answer any questions on these or any others.
Okay, members, any questions or comments? I was up in Galston yesterday, can I say, Simon? I know it's been a wee bit in terms of the refurbishment in the town hall. It's looking really good. I can't wait to go to see the opening in late September. It's really quite a bit of work with the sandstone. Really fits in well with the rest of the built environment. So just well done there, but we'll look forward to that in the end of the month. Members, any other comments? Jim?
Just one for me, Simon. I think it's about the Council House Build programme and the project at Cairn Road. It's been 6-7 years in the making. I know we've had legal issues, but when can we expect something really to be concrete and designs coming forward for that?
Yeah, thanks through you, Chair. So we've now appointed a multidisciplinary design team who are starting to look at the outline proposals. I think, as noted in the report, it's at that early stage, so we don't have a programme put together yet for that, but in the next short period we should be able to kind of advise on how that's going to pan out in terms of project timescales, and can keep members advised and yourself directly.
You, Chair. Just by way of direct update, we signed off the award of the contract yesterday following completion of the standstill period, so the contract for the design's in place. Excuse me. Also, as an aside, Members will recall for that one, there was correspondence received from RIAS that was circulated far and wide to anyone and everyone that might listen, suggesting that or querying the council's approach to that tender and the price quality split, which I think from memory we had at 60-40. And the argument was that even at 60-40 price, 60-40 quality, there was not enough emphasis on quality and we would be getting cheapest chips bids, etc. We got, or we might not get bids, it might put the market off. We got multiple bids, I think it was 14 or 17. We got an awful lot of bids and we did the exercise. And just for record, and I know that Andrew and others have raised this with RIAS, but just for wider public consumption and assurance to members, that had you applied or had we applied the 70-30 split, the outcome would have been the same. And the same contractor would have won the contract, even if we'd adopted the suggested approach by RIAS. So I think what that says is we should all just stick to our own professional disciplines and not dabble in other people's. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, is that you, Simon? Over to Jane now. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Simon.
Sorry.
Thought you escaped there, but just a quick question. The multi-story. I mean, everybody that's walking past it now can see we're getting there. So the landscaping beginning. Can you just give us a wee update on what's the plan for the landscaping? I think it's initially just short term. It's to be grassed, but can you give us an update on what we're going to do with the wider consultation with the public and the long term plans for it? Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, through you. So as members will be aware, we were unsuccessful in a funding bid to support the council's allocation towards redevelopment of the site. So in the short term, the demolition contract included an allowance to turf the site. So that's what we're going to do in the short term, just to buy that bit of time to consider what the future development opportunities might be aligned with the wider sort of town centre strategy. There is £1 million of funding within the capital programme for this, and as I say, it allows that opportunity to consider what would be the best development for the site going forward.
Thanks. I'm going to bring Richard just to update you where we are with Culture Command and Old Times Town Centre.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. Thanks, question, Councillor Barton. And just to add, I guess, to Simon's response, and as members are aware, following recent presentations in relation to the work we're doing around town centre regeneration, really key to make sure that any monies that we have in relation to the multi-storey car park area in terms of that landscaping piece are well spent in the context of those evolving and developing conversations and proposals. So we'll, I think that's been a really solid start this week in terms of presentations to ward members and to the neighbourhood board. I attended the neighbourhood board yesterday as well, just to make sure that the plans for the town centre and the opportunities aligned with UK government monies are used to the greatest effect. Again, really positive, constructive discussion yesterday, and I'll be happy to keep members updated as those matters progress and keep you in the loop in terms of the various different work streams that we've been talking about. But you know, exciting times, I think, but wanting to make sure we make the best use of the monies that are in the programme.
Thanks, Richard. I think that's absolutely essential to do that. That's good to hear it. And I think I've had some element of success, and that's good. Thank you for that, Richard. Claire?
I know we have a link on our website explaining the car park and how it's happening and what plans are, etc. Is that currently up to date? Because there's been a few people asking questions and the answers are actually within that link. And I was just wondering if it was up to date. Maybe we should have a little look at it and possibly put it back out to the public if it is absolutely current. There's a lot of questions regarding the space, as well as a lot of appreciation. Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I'm wondering if there is the link through the Ayrshire Roads Alliance page around about the car park. Is it? Certainly, we can look into that. And
what car park is it? Is it the
It's the multi-story that's been taken down, and it was there was a consultation in that, and I'm sure the infinity loop's mentioned in there as well. It was just a little timeline. I think it might be out of date, and as many people are asking, might be an opportunity to go in and update that on our plans. Thank you.
That's right. No, that's just to be clear. That is. So. Okay. And else, thank you, Simon. I'm told it's Amanda now.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. I'll take you through the workforce pages. So the first slide we've got on the left-hand side of the slide shows the headcount and the full-time equivalent of employees as at the 30th of June 2025, and with a comparison for the figures at the same period, 30th of June 2024. Since last year, the headcount of the council has overall decreased by 349 employees, and during the period April to June, it decreased by 192. Obviously, the same as my colleagues before have said, you can drill down into each of the individual sections, but there's been a decrease in each service grouping. The number of that 192 is split into 149 permanent employees and 43 temporary employees. On the right-hand side of this slide shows the number of employees under the age of 30. The graph details the number of young people, including those employed with the council and in the apprenticeships, and all other employees 30 and under. Noting the figure includes temporary employees. These figures have been updated from previous Ayrshire performs to include the change of definition of young person for the workforce from 16 to 24 to 16 to 30. The reason for this change is to take account of young people with disabilities or care experience who can apply for apprenticeships up to the age of 29, and there's no age limit within internships. Overall, the number of young people under 30 working with the council as at the 30th of June was 961, with 99 of these employees being apprentices. Next slide shows the trainees. As members are aware, the council had a jobs and training fund for 2022 to 2025, and it's now been extended for a further 3-year period up to 2028, and it's continued to focus on a mix of council for apprentices, internships, pre-apprenticeship opportunities. At this point in time, we're going through a significant amount of recruitment. And for the period, it only shows an increase of 2, but there is a number of live adverts and posts that are currently being shortlisted, which also includes, for the first time, a new scheme for apprenticeships for social care, and there's 6 of those out to advert. On the right-hand side of this slide shows the positive destinations, and this is the progress made by employees who joined the council through the jobs and training scheme, and the number of MAs and graduates and interns achieving positive destinations in this quarter was 2, which was lower, but that's due to where we are currently with the recruitment process, and I would expect that to be different next quarter. Just mentioning to members, it's obviously not detailed there, but we did do the pilot this year of the summer programme for pre-apprenticeship and doing academy, and it's been very successful. We are currently analysing that to see what went well, what could be done better. Donna from my team is linking up with Marjorie, employability, and looking at how we bring together all the summer programmes, and we roll that out wider across the other secondary schools. We've already had requests for that. Oops, something's happened here. Sorry, I've got an extra screen.
Next page.
Yes, please. Okay, sorry about that. So recruitment, vacancies and new starts. So on the left-hand side shows the recruitment split into frontline and non-frontline. Frontline being sort of obvious were schools, care at home, waste, etc. And non-frontline is more your support services. I would say that this page is, as it currently stands, will be updated and changed. We are currently in the process of changing the workforce review group. So by the time we come the next time, there'll be another reiteration of that. On the right-hand side shows the new starts for this quarter, and there's 81, which is a decrease for the same quarter last year of 3. On this slide shows the leavers to the council for the period as a result of a combination temporary contracts ending, resignation, retirements, and for other reasons which could be health. There's a total of 182 employees left the council during this period. This was 73 more than the quarter before. But that's to be, and the main reason was resignation, but that's to be expected given the time in the academic year in connection with the annual staffing exercise for our colleagues in education. Sorry, I'm not very good at this. Absence. So moving on to absence, we currently have obviously advised members before, we're currently in a programme of digitalising the absence processes, reviewing the policy and trying to streamline the processes. We've also been doing some work with a great piece of work for our graduate intern within internal audit about how we dive deeper into the absence statistics, and when we've already got some prototypes as such, and when we've got that further, we'll develop these pages. But in the meantime, the charts on the left-hand side and show that there was 1,627 instances of absence over this period, which is a decrease of 2,007 working days lost from the previous period. The next slide shows the absence by length. So the graph shows the employees within each service group and the length of their absence. The 1,924 employees were absent short term, which is 1 day to 1 month, and 612 were absent long term, which is equivalent of 1 month to over 6 months. Some of these are employees that's had multiple periods of absence in the same period. The short term absence compared to the same period last year has decreased by 0.33, and the long term absence has slightly increased. The reasons for absence, this is the top 10 reasons for absence. The reason we've stopped at 10 is your colleagues will see that when you go to the 10th reason, the numbers are very, very small. So to go any further, it would be very marginal. The top 5 have remained the same top 5 in the last year, but a bit of movement within them. So the top 2 have remained exactly the same, with operations recovery moving from 4th to 3rd, and work-related stress moving from 5th to 4th, and with stomach abdominal moving from 3rd to 5th. I would note that if you look at the lost days for stress, personal stress, well, still our highest reason from last year to this year, it has decreased by 1,765, approximately 30%. And hopefully the work that we're doing through the additional team and the early intervention is starting to pay a bit of dividends in that. What I would also note is the days in musculoskeletal have increased slightly. So we are starting a similar programme for musculoskeletal from the 1st of October, and the hope to reduce those numbers. And that's the people pages. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Amanda. Any questions for Amanda, Graham?
Thanks, Doug. It's just on the absence. I'm glad to hear you're looking at a deeper dive into the kind of absence. Can I make a couple of requests to see if it's possible, if you can get this data on there? But it's things like the overall financial impact of the council. Could we get that added in? And also, can we look at maybe getting the absence rate as a percentage per service? I don't know. I'd leave it up to the service leaders to see whether that be on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. And the chart and the length absence, it's showing a kind of increase in single day absences. could that be broken down further? Maybe whatever days that people are absent, or see if there's some sort of trend impact. And again, it's only if this can be done within the system.
Yeah.
Through you, Chair. So take them in term financial impact. We do provide the stats that go to managers every month, an indicative cost of the cost of absence, but it is simply based on the sick pay of the individual being off at this point in time, and hopefully through the digitalisation we'll be able to improve that. It would mean services sitting and manually going through timesheets to see whether the cover costs were through overtime, bank work, or it might be folk working changing their shift pattern, so it's not a direct correlation. So to give it just now, it would only be the financial impact on the sick pay that we're paying, but it is something that we're mindful when we're doing this deeper dive and further development. The single days is part of the stuff that we have already looked at. Not only the single days, we now, as I say, we're in the testing stages of it just now. We can identify what is the most common day for people going off sick, what is the most common day for folk coming back, and then look at the 1 day, the 2 to 7 days, etc., and the reasons for that as well, to see where the commonality is with that. So that's something that we can look at for the next quarter, certainly adding. Regarding the percentages, that's something to look at. So from the stat PIs and everything, the councils have all moved away from percentages and moved to work days lost. So we don't naturally do it in that. So, but I can look at that and see if it's feasible without too much manual intervention.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Jim.
And thanks, Chair. Amanda, I suppose the thing for me is about stress, whether that's personal or work-related stress. Perhaps I'd like to see that bar as one bar at the top of that, and then a split on that would really set that message home about how people are impacted by stress. So if we could split that figure 3992 and then 1714, it really sends it home the impact of stress on the individual. So I suppose my question for me, how early is that intervention when somebody phones in or contacts us that it's stress related, and how varied, I suppose, off the back of that question, or the length, the time periods that people are after working with stress?
Through you, Chair. So we can certainly bring the two reasons together to show it in the bar chart. The reasons are separated as the different categories, the absences as stands in the policy. The early intervention is within 3 working days of the employee going off, and that's sort of led by the discussion with the manager as to, depending on the nature of what's happened and how the employee is, as to whether it's day 1 or we wait to maybe day 2 or 3. So that's led by that. Apologies, what was the third?
The varied length of time, the absences, for the first phone in, how long is that absence and how did they vary?
They vary greatly. We have it from 1 day right the way up to over 6 months. So it depends on the nature, because stress can cover a whole load of, obviously, situations, but we can have it from as little as 1 day right the way up to long term.
Yes, thanks, Amanda. Okay, I think that's you for that section. Now get the digital. Joe.
Thanks, Chair. This is a new section to the report. It's based on the digital strategy that you approved in October 2022, a strategy called our Digital Strategy to 2027 and Beyond. Things are moving so quickly that we'll barely get it through 2025, and we're reviewing our digital strategy to bring it back to Council in early course. This is an important feature. It's very high profile. We're hearing a lot coming out of the Accounts Commission around the expectation on the public sector to embrace digital and embrace digital in its widest sense, whether that's artificial intelligence or robotics or re-engineering and the like. So important for us. The good thing is we've been out the traps for a while on this, so we're not waiting for either the Accounts Commission or anyone else to tell us what to do. And on this page, this is quite an important page for me and for Paul Toland as the as Assistant Director of ICT and Digital. On the top left, you see a light blue line with £2.412 million. That's the two allocations that you made from the Innovation Fund for technology-enabled care and for home care workforce management, the move from CM2000 to Total Mobile. We can see there a spend of 2.4, but below that, we can see an anticipated saving of £2.9 million. So a project or two projects taking place, and we can see financial gains arising. Those financial gains are spread over the years, and in the bottom right, you see those two beginning to show and deliver the cost reductions. Now, it's important, we're dealing with a service here that has got demand outstripping the budget. So in normal times, this would be a saving, but it's a cost reduction. We're actually limiting the future costs within that service and doing innovation and, I suppose, to some extent, early intervention and prevention. At the top of the screen, you can see the 11 digital projects that are major and are in play. They range from digital efficiencies within environmental services through the digital front door, Microsoft 365, and Care at Home Total Mobile, 33% delivered so far. More to be achieved, and as that is achieved, then those lines in the bottom right will move towards the right, and more of that cost avoidance will be delivered. So, really important part here. This is a series of projects that are supported by Council Management Team. I'm the digital lead on behalf of my CMT colleagues, but at the same time also managed and overseen and scrutinised by the Digital Management Board that meets. So it's something where we need to go further with. We have that linkage between the Accounts Commission and the report that Amanda and I are sitting with recommendations on, where the Accounts Commission have produced a report on workforce, but the first half of that report, that national report, was on headcount within local government, but the other half of the report was on how digital technology will reduce that headcount. You're seeing some of that already in Amanda's presentations, but as we go through this process and we embrace digital, it will invariably mean sleeker services, cheaper services, but it will also mean lower headcount. We've given a synopsis of digital ongoing projects. These are in addition to the ones in the previous page. 3 in here are tests of change, and there's another dozen or so that we're working on to support services across the piece. They range from colleagues in housing very kindly piloting the videos appointments for us. So if you've got a constituent at home who wants to talk to someone in Revs and Bens or in housing through their iPad, that can now take place, and it's working well in the same way as your digital surgeries. And there's more on that page on the things that we've done and are currently in progress. And then 5 or so recently completed projects, and you can see that certainly in my service redesign, and that going back to the revenue section, underspend taking place in my service. That's a job of work for Paul and Colin and I to do, to almost change the staffing mix so that there's more allocated to business innovation and to digital work, because that's where the emphasis will be as we go forward. And we've given a commitment to do that. And in terms of just some headlines, you know, that £1.5 million that you approved last September, that Total Mobile system that was to be implemented in May 2025, I have to be honest, I thought that was a bit of an ask. But colleagues in the service, supported by colleagues in Finance and Digital and in ICT and Business Innovation, got that through, and that's operational already, showing, as Eric touched on previously, and as Marion touched on, already showing benefits in terms of the artificial intelligence being used to deploy the workforce in that area. Microsoft 365, I'll leave it to you to decide whether it's an improvement or not. Costs £1 million a year every year, and you kind of put money by in the budget for that. But as services progress with things like these dashboards, and they begin to redesign their service through digital, then we'll take some money back to help pay for 365. And the last one there is corporate telephony. This is a colossal project. We get 300,000 calls into the council each year. They're answered by a whole host of staff and a whole range of services. And the work here is to change the functionality to create a central base and to progress with a call handle, a call centre that would enable those who are interacting with the council to get resolution, first-time resolution, but do so in a way where there's a wider embracement of their interaction with the council. Might be for a council tax query, but we can then talk about things around free school meals entitlement, and then signpost them to that as well. So a massive project in terms of digital. And I suppose that concludes East Ayrshire Reforms. I'll take you back to 2011 and that exceptions reporting and key messages. Key messages I'd like to leave you with is overspend of £8.5 million. Yes, it's high, compares to £20 million same time last year. You're seeing improvements in education, you're seeing recovery plans in place, and you're seeing improvements in communities and economy too. In terms of the Health and Social Care Partnership, Chief Exec has intimated, and I've also mentioned that we give notice that as the direction is provided, then, as we mentioned in the budget report in February, decisions will flow back to you to make in terms of allocating additional funds or instructing the Health and Social Care Partnership to live within the budget that was allocated, or a hybrid approach. Capital programme, £25 million reprofiling from this year into next. But bear in mind, please, we're still spending £116 million this year on it. Workforce, we're seeing a reduction in headcount, but we're also seeing the success of jobs and training, and that's £7.5 million you put in for apprenticeships. And in terms of digital, substantial work taking place, substantial work continues to take place, and it will lead at some point to a discussion around what a fully embracement of digital means in terms of the workforce and the headcount. Chair, the recommendations for Cabinet are on paragraph 7 on page 4, and I'll stop there. Happy to take any questions. Sorry, can I also, forgive me, Chair, can I also, this has been, it may seem a bit seamless, it's been a job of work. Can I take the unusual step of thanking Martin Smith and Chloe Galt for the work they've done in building this, because I could not do it. And also to Richard Radigan, who has prepared the chambers for us today. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Absolutely echo the sentiments. I know it's been a long time in the making. These changes, members, we get the recommendations in paragraph 7. Can we agree to agree? Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah. Linda.
Thanks. So talking about people being away ahead of themselves, clearly I was when I talked about digital before. I don't know what I was thinking, but I stand by what I said. But I've got a wee comment about Microsoft 365, and just in relation to the other like apps and add-ons, some of which we know are dangerous, but is there thoughts to have them rolled out, or are we sticking with what we've got?
So through you, Chair, we are still on our 365 journey, and we've done it in a way, and I'm grateful to Paul and to the whole team for what they've done in this. It hasn't been easy. We've got digital ambassadors who are currently stress testing other applications that will be released in due course. We have grateful thanks to Robert Gibson, because 365 isn't an IT project, it's a data management process. And, you know, Robert's been very kind in terms of the DPIA we've completed, but also in terms of providing advice around information handling and governance. You know, when we're based, our information will be based in the cloud. We need to be careful what we put in the cloud and who has access to that cloud. And so the part about OneDrive is something we're looking at. It will come, but it will come with safeguards in terms of the protections that's needed in respect of data handling and data management that lies on all of us. So still progress to be made, but thanks to colleagues so far.
Thanks very much, and I think the key takes at the end were very important there. I'd just like to do a bit of digital as well. Going back to the final page in the corporate telephony. 300,000 calls we have taken. I'd like to know, and this all stems from a community council on Monday night when people were praising how much information we do have out there. But there was one lady says, I'm only ever going to phone. And I said, that's fine. And you can phone us direct or phone the office and someone will always respond from our team. However, what I'd like to know is how many people do get in touch with us now by email compared to how they did, what that trend is, and the same with telephone calls. That's a huge number, but how does it compare? So are telephone calls going up? Are telephone calls going down? Are they contacting individuals more directly? So it's just, as we have all this information around, it might be an interesting topic to come back to in the direction of travel and how people contact us, because even to take a wee message I was trying to send to Simon there, I had to get a telephone call sent to me silently to open up here to send an email. Couldn't send it on this link because the Outlook doesn't let you send photographs from your own account there. So for all this new technology is wonderful. My goodness, it's like playing games these days almost, going through the different gates till you meet the big boss and you can send your email. So but I would like to see what the direction of travel is, and I'm sure others would too. Thank you very much.
So conscious that the answer would probably last a while, being very quick. We'll come back to you on the detail. But we do have, and it goes back to digital embracing. We do have a nudge system in place where we would like you to contact us via the website. After that, we would like you to contact us by email. After that, we'd like a telephone call, and last resort face-to-face. That's why we've got video technology for people at home. Because years ago we had costs and all that stuff. But it's more than that. There's an expectation on the council, on the leader, on the chief executive to respond to the Accounts Commission's expectations around embracing digital. So I'll come back to you on the detail of that. Sadly for us, calls seem to be remaining static at 300,000 a year, but I'll come on to more detail later.
Okay, Jim.
Thanks. Yeah, and again, it's on digital, Joe. The care at home has been an absolutely great investment. The smart hub, going and visiting that once again, I'm in awe of the stuff that can be produced and that can use, and taking some of that advice on myself and some of the appliances there. I use them in my own home now. But I think the thing for me is running about that corporate telephony that we're talking about. And you did talk about several phases all the way out through that and to consolidate the service. So I suppose that my question would be, when can we expect the phases ought to be consolidated? Because I'm still getting the frustrations for the constituents, but when they're calling in, and somebody actually hung up after 40 minutes last week because they didn't get a call, which is really frustrating for them and also for us when they come to us. So it's really about when can we expect all the phases to be consolidated?
So through you, Chair, I'm disappointed to hear that, because that really shouldn't happen. We've got staff at home and in the office ready to take customer service calls. Where it's for a service and that service is operating a hybrid model, we've deployed one number system that allows that member of staff, or indeed yourself, to use your extension number of 1234, and you can set that each day for incoming calls to come to your desk phone, your mobile phone, or even your home phone, so that continue. So the functionality is in place. We are working with colleagues and with partners on a specific module in respect of payments, which is near completion, PCI DSS, but the crux of this is down to a shift in the way we take calls, the way we answer calls, and that's a cultural shift. We have the data that tells us who's taking calls, how often they're taking calls, and the extent of the calls they're taking. We have that information for every service in the council. It's now about a CMT decision and a challenge session. It's in due course to move forward to the call centre. There will be significant staff changes in that, and discussions to be had with Amanda and others. But the functionality is there. I would imagine that we will progress at pace now, and I'm happy to keep you and members updated on how that goes, Deputy Leader.
Okay, thanks for that, Joe. Okay, we've got the recommendations this time in paragraph 7. Can we agree recommendations? Okay, thanks for that. I now have to temporarily move exclusion of press and public. Can I make sure the recording is stopped? Gordon, just give a minute to do, get that ready. I think we'll have to sort it. Okay, it's as right. Okay, Ayrshire Innovation Park Infrastructure Full Business Case, and David McDowell.
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to set out to Cabinet in the progress of the full business case for the infrastructure phases of the Ayrshire Innovation Park, which will be the catalyst for the full development of the AMIC project, that's the Ayrshire Manufacturing Investment Corridor, and the Ayrshire Engineering Park projects. The development of the Innovation Park will have a transformative impact in the Ayrshire economy and aims to reduce market failure currently experienced in the private sector for the development of high-quality business and manufacturing units. The sectorial focus on food and drink and advanced manufacturing and engineering, amongst others, is a key theme of the regional economic strategy, and AMIC and Engineering Park will predominantly deliver upon 2 of the 6 priority areas of the strategy, specifically support for enterprise and innovation. The range of new businesses being made available will allow existing businesses to expand and attract new businesses to the area. Job opportunities will be provided across some of the region's key sectors, and this will consolidate Ayrshire's reputation as a place to work, live and invest in. The Ayrshire Innovation Park is comprised of 2 distinct Ayrshire Growth Deal projects, that being the Advanced Manufacturing Investment Corridor and the Ayrshire Engineering Park, with a total investment via the programme at £42.4 million, which is made up of £23.5 million for the Ayrshire Manufacturing Investment Corridor project, with £16 million for the Ayrshire Engineering Park, an additional £2.9 million from the Building Digital Capital Fund, which will be allocated across both projects. With the current external funding it's been committed, the total project investment is currently sitting at £48.8 million at this time. With the development of plots 1 to 5 as service industrial plots, we will see significant additional private sector investment, already with heads of terms agreed with one food manufacturing company for plots 3, 4 and 5. The planning permission in principle application for the master plan was submitted and approved by the Planning Committee on the 13th of December 2024, and on the 22nd of August 25 the Planning Committee considered and approved the discharge of all the planning conditions regarding the Phase 1 development. Proposals for this development are being taken forward in 3 key phases as illustrated in Figure 1, with indicative aerial view of the development illustrated in Figure 2 and phases summarised as follows. Phase 1, which is illustrated in Figure 1 as the orange colour, that's the initial physical infrastructure which will be delivered as Phase 1 of the site development, and that will comprise a cut and fill of the existing site levels in preparation of full plot developments, together with the formation of a spine road, footpath network, drainage infrastructure, service installations and transport and access road alterations. Phase 2 is illustrated on Figure 1 in the plan in purple, is the construction of the AMIC food grades units in the Centre for Excellence. Phase 3, construction of the Ayrshire Engineering Park industrial units, is illustrated in green in Figure 1 in the plan. The outline business case for AMIC project was approved by both governments on the 2nd of April this year, and the Ayrshire Engineering Park was approved on the 12th of June this year, with Phase 1 infrastructure works considered by Cabinet today being approved yesterday by Scottish and UK governments. In order to manage risk and to meet the preferred procurement strategy, the FBC for this combined project has been split into 4 separate FBCs. The first of these, which is subject to this report, considers obviously the infrastructure, and others are set out as being the AMIC FBC, which is dealing with the large advanced manufacturing units, and we're targeting initially a November submission for that, with a April approval, April 2026, which would allow construction works to commence in February 2027. With the AMEC FBC for the Centre of Excellence, that initial submission in November this year, with the targeted approval later next year, ready for commencement in January 2027. And the Engineering Park FBC for the small terrace and large engineering units, again submission later this year, with project commencement in February 2027. So the AMEC project is supported, as mentioned, by £23.5 million from both Scottish and UK governments. £10 million from the UK government supports the development of the Centre of Excellence, and £13.5 million from the Scottish government supports the development of the infrastructure, food grade incubation units and advanced manufacturing industrial units for the food and drink sector. Recognising that product development and innovation are key catalysts for business growth, AMEC will enable the delivery of the Ayrshire Regional Economic Strategy for the food and drink sector. It is designed to provide industry growth and attract inward investment to the area. The budget for the Ayrshire Engineering Park project is £16 million, comprising £12 million allocation from Scottish Government and £4 million from East Ayrshire Council. This project will provide high quality industrial premises for engineering and supply chain manufacturing companies. The development is targeting growth and expansion of the existing engineering business space. It will also allow the expansion and development of Moorfield Industrial Park, creating serviced and high quality business space with a range of units to support the advanced manufacturing and light engineering sectors in East Ayrshire. The co-location at Moorfield also offers the opportunity for both projects to take advantage of the new 5G connectivity programme, which is being funded by the UK government, and aligned this programme to the Ayrshire Growth Deals Building Digital Capital Fund. And members will recall the last Cabinet meeting, the report that set out that £2.9 million investment in the park. This will be used to put in place digital infrastructure linking the site to the local BT exchange, as well as the 5G private networks that are created, and on-site digital infrastructure, including digital infrastructure from the plot boundary to the new buildings. The funding will also support the businesses within the development to be used to install new digital equipment, smart building technologies, cyber security and new software within the buildings. Digital connectivity is an essential component of this development, which will drive forward smart manufacturing and enable businesses to embrace AI capabilities to improve productivity and innovation. In terms of AMEC, this project is comprised of three key elements. Firstly, the creation of a 12,000 square metre Centre of Excellence for food and drink. The centre will incorporate a range of facilities, including the test and pilot kitchens for training and larger scale trials, butchery facilities and presentation areas for businesses. It will also provide a technical and innovation support service and linking with our economic development business support teams focused in the food and drink sector across the region. There are also 9 food grade incubator units which will be built, ranging from 50 to 100 square metres. Thirdly, there's a range of speculative food units which will be built, comprising 1 large unit of 2,700 square metres and 3 terrace units, each comprising of 300 square metres. The Ayrshire Engineering Park will provide 5 service plots and provide flexible, high quality business space with a range of units to support the advanced manufacturing light engineering sectors, with a range of different units from 3,300 square metres to the smaller units at 110 square metres. These are designed to attract a wide range of businesses and provide a pathway for growth and expansion. Electrical substations will be delivered throughout the site to service the future units and to coordinate with plans being developed by SPEN for future primary substations. Following partnership working with SPEN, we're able to achieve through partnership working an off-gen funding allocation of 6.4 million, and that will help to support the electrical infrastructure to increase the network from the town centre into the site boundary. As well as the construction of the new Spine Road, 2 new junctions, or 2 new access roads will be created, which will provide and benefit the wider road network across the Moorfield site, Both junctions have been designed to ensure smooth traffic flows and reduce congestion within the vicinity of Christhouse Hospital. As part of the Construction Transport Management Plan, close coordination has been undertaken with the NHS property team. Tenders for the infrastructure works were issued in April 2025 and we received 10 bids. Following a scoring exercise which was conducted by a design team and procurement colleagues, 5 contractors were invited to submit a full tender. A preferred contractor has subsequently been identified and is anticipated, subject to joint committee approval, that the contract will be awarded by the week beginning 8th of September 2025. Construction works will last for approximately 1 year and the preferred contractor will mobilise during September for full civil engineering works expected to commence during October this year. Drawdown of the Council's costs during the pre-final business case approval process from the UK and Scottish Government will commence at the conclusion of the approval of the FBCs for the respective phases, and then implementation costs will be drawn down routinely during the relevant financial years. Forecast is expected during this financial year for AMEC at 1.6 million and the Ayrshire Engineering Park at 1.8 million. Project spend will be monitored on a monthly basis by the Ayrshire Growth Deal team, and the PMO will support these works along with the Council's finance team, and there'll be monthly reports provided for this work. Compliance monitoring of the site will be undertaken by the project design team and their allocated subcontractor. And this will all be supported by the governance structures in place set out in paragraphs 29 to 32. And as part of the arrangements, monitoring of the strategic and operational risk registers as set out in paragraphs 37 to 40 will be carried out accordingly. The FBC report will be considered by the Ayrshire Regional Economic Partnership Board and the Ayrshire Economic Joint Committee on Friday the 5th of September, with a recommendation to agree the FBC's submission for approval in line with the governance arrangements for the Ayrshire Growth Deal, and this will enable the award of the related works tender for Phase 1 civil engineering works to the preferred contractor. So the Centre of Excellence in the various industrial units will be built in a phase as mentioned above, and this will be subject to further Cabinet reports and approval through both an endorsement through both governments, and then latterly with the Ayrshire Regional Economic Partnership and final sign-off by the Ayrshire Economic Joint Committee. Chair, that's the summary of the report. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the recommendations are set out in paragraph 2. Thank you.
I said, absolutely good news story. Just builds on the success of some of the industrial units that we've had round about there. But with the introduction of 5G, hopefully we'll try some really good new business. It's really, really good. Look forward to see that happening. And just, I know there's been some interest already from folk from out with authority and within as well. Just a wee minor point, if I could maybe just, there's a wee issue just now there. I noticed one of the features here in terms of the roads, there is a potential kind of rat runs, but I know just now there's been some, what a better expression, boy racers using some of the roads at the weekends, and that's something we just seek to discourage, but just maybe to nip it in the bud, and maybe.
Sorry to you, Chair.
Let's.
Sorry, Leader. So just to update members, keep you in the loop, the matter was raised with us as part of the police report on Monday. We've had subsequent correspondence and discussion with the police and with Jane in terms of the Ayrshire Roads Alliance, and there's I guess a joint approach now being looked at in terms of how we discourage that in terms of moving forward, and obviously the police will keep it on their radar in terms of the immediate action.
Yeah. And just, and just the indicative road here, there's the potential just to you've cut the roundabout just up towards the hospital there, just to build that in when we're looking at the traffic calming or whatever it is we need to do, just to kind of alert you to that as well. But not to take away from a big news story, this the overall story is fantastic, and hopefully bring some jobs out of the community. Linda.
Thank you, Leader. Can I get clarity on something, David? When you're talking about the Food and Drink Centre of Excellence, what exactly is that going to provide? That's my first wee point. The second one was to do with the entrances and exits. I'm a former employee at Cross House Hospital, and I have sat in the queues of traffic at 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and many times in between. I've got real concerns about the runabouts, the two runabouts at the front of the hospital, because you could easily be standing. I could be in my office in Leicester Street and looking down, and the queue went for the first roundabout to the second roundabout, all the way down to the one before Moorfield, right back, and then back up towards the Belfield interchange. That was frequent. So all we're doing is bringing in, and whereas I think, yeah, as the leader says, it's an absolutely fantastic idea, but I really do have concerns about that, and I know there'll be residents, and I think the staff at the hospital will as well. Cheers.
So in terms of first point about the Centre of Excellence, I'd kind of highlighted in my overview that, this had, 1,200 square metre unit. It's in terms of ground, it's got 2 floors to it. The ground floor, there's design bespoke kitchens, very large industrial kitchens. When we did the original concept way back about a decade ago and worked through that about, as part of the growth deal, where the sector was failing effectively, where we didn't have adequate facilities for businesses to come in and actually get access to higher kitchens, bespoke kitchens, to allow them to develop their product so that they could start a new range, or indeed to come in because they didn't have the capacity. So there's effectively 3 very large kitchens and a production area in there. There's also 2 smaller kitchens that there's a lot of work in terms of food sales, and that requires dedicated requirements to come in, take food photography. So there's areas set aside for that as well. There's also the opportunity within that building to have a training facility within that. So there's conference spaces as an allocation where you can bring in your teams to get dedicated training in there. So that's the larger scale trials that the businesses are telling us they need to do. There isn't anywhere in the west of Scotland to do this, and hence the reason that when we saw that there was a gap in the market, that was an area where we wanted to exploit. So the food and drink sector businesses that we work with are telling us that this is an area that they need, and the idea is that once we get this facility up and running, they'll be able to hire out that space to develop their own products. They'll have that ability to some of the smaller businesses will be able to take the incubator units and use those to grow into some of the large units, but they'll also be able to rely on the Centre of Excellence and that bespoke type of facility. There isn't, in the west of Scotland, I mentioned there isn't a kind of dedicated facility similar to that. There are elsewhere in the UK, and we've benchmarked that, and where they've been delivered, they're very successful. So the idea is that we utilise this as a regional asset to grow the food and drink sector. So that's the first question. Does that answer your question, Councillor Mason?
The only reason I was asking was I was thinking about the cook school, which is there, and what the difference is. That was why I was looking for the clarity.
Yeah, the cook school was originally there, and it gave the opportunity to train chefs, and it also gave the opportunity to train train us. If you wanted to go and learn how to cook, you could go there. That facility isn't there any longer. So the cook school, I'm trading as a cook school, but it's not. It's more. This is targeted more at businesses to actually develop a product range and take it for there. In terms of your other question, in terms of the construction traffic management plan, we were very conscious that we've got the hospital there and all the constraints that the hospital currently has with its traffic management. So we're utilising the existing roundabout with an access onto the site from there. And we have a set if you take you back to figure 1, the east side of the site, there's a signalised junction there. the signalised junction will go in and there'll be traffic lights there, and that for anybody that's local to the area and they see the rat runs that people use for at high speed going down that Muirfield Road, that'll help to calm that area. Certainly, we've worked as with our consultants to do a kind of modelling of the traffic in there, and we've worked with ARA. ARA were satisfied with the proposals. What we'd also say is that in terms of the construction work, we've worked with the developer or the contractor, the preferred contractor, and we're looking to relocate all the main trips into the facility through the east side, so it won't be through the roundabout. So there'll be certainly works carried out at both at the roundabout to form the access and to provide a kind of staff entrance in, but all deliveries we're looking at coming in from the east side. So with that, the main works, the civil engineering works with transportation coming on site and coming off, they'll be taken away from the roundabout area by virtue of coming in at the east side of the site. So we've tried to do that to ensure that we didn't have an adverse impact. We are going to have to monitor this very closely because, as you'll appreciate, it's going to be, we'll begin constructing the site during the winter. So it's key that the developer has actually got suitable means in place to prevent any adverse impact on the road network through mucky wheels, etc. So there's wheel washes, etc., and going to be in place for that. So we obviously were aware of some of the members have had developments in their own area and some of the kind of key concerns. So it's really important for us as to lead by example here to reduce any impact. In terms of the construction transport management plan, we have liaised as a design team with the hospital to ensure that we get a kind of seamless transition. We also have passed that responsibility onto the contractor, who will be having the same, going into the kind of other design proposals with the NHS property team to ensure that we don't have any adverse impact. I think I mentioned at the last cabinet that notwithstanding, I think it's Councillor Filson raised it about the issue of the impact that you've just raised. It goes without saying that there will be roadworks that have to be, there's a water pipes in the main road into the hospital that will be have to be accessed, and so that does mean roadworks in that area, traffic lights for a short period of time. That work is actually in agreement with ARA, and we'll follow their guide on how that's done. So there will be some adverse impact in terms of traffic lights in the road, but that'll be for a short period of time.
Thanks, David. Graham?
Just want to make comment on excellent work to secure that £6.4 million funding for Ofgem. I think that could have a serious impact on the project. So that's excellent work with the team.
Yeah, it was a kind of joint approach with colleagues in F&PM and ourselves and economic growth. So I think it was good that Andrew Kennedy and I went and met the senior staff in their offices up in Glasgow, and when they understood what the kind of overall objectives were, they weren't going to treat us as a single site, and they looked at the overall local development plan to bring it all together under one kind of strategic overview. So that infrastructure will support the hospital, it will support our site, and it'll also be the catalyst for the several hundred, well, the 2,000 houses up the west side of Kilmarnock.
Thanks for that, David. Okay, can we go to if there's no other questions or comments, can we go to recommendations? Can we agree the recommendations? Okay, I think that concludes business for today. Can I thank you all for your attendance and your participation?